Now, the increasing cost of energy and food are behind the fastest price rises we've seen in decades. Inflation, the official measure of just how fast the cost of living is going up, is now at its highest level since 1992, at 5.4%.
Yeah, that's way above where the Bank of England wants that figure to be, at 2%. And it means if a bottle of milk cost you £1 a year ago, it probably costs £1.05 today. The Nine's India Grant has been finding out why.
Well, there's that Chinese curse, isn't there? You know, may you live in interesting times. And I think we're in interesting times.
Interesting times indeed. Inflation, the cost of goods and services, it's at its highest rate since 1992. If it helps for context, I wasn't even born then. It's one of the most basic of foodstuffs. Milk is still pretty cheap, but like so much else in our lives, the price is rising. But are costs going up for farmers too?
The fertiliser has risen, I think, nearly 3 times over the last year. The price of electricity, as people are well aware in the news, will be going up 40 to 60% for people depending on their contracts. And the price of fuel has risen dramatically as well, particularly gas.
As an organic farmer, Bruce can adapt to some changes, but not everything can be dodged.
I think you become very aware of it every month when you have that bill to pay and what can you afford.
But he's optimistic and says farmers can adapt.
We'll grow beans for the cows and feed them to the thing rather than growing soya, and that's good because we're almost being forced into better practice.
The milk ends up in high street supermarkets like this one in Aberdeen. But for people like Laura, a decision has to be made on what is essential.
Every big shop that I've done, I have not had enough money when it's come to the checkout.
Laura cannot work due to her MS. She's raising 2 children and has turned to food banks when she can't afford food.
We're talking about milk, but obviously it's not just that, it's milk.
It's food, it's gas, it's heating, it's electricity, it's everything.
And have you noticed it all getting more expensive?
Totally. Price of fruit and vegetables, gone up. Price of milk, dairy stuff, gone up. Price of everything, it's gone up. And it's just so difficult to try and catch up with everything. If you're just an average person who's not making that much money, who has to survive on benefits, and nobody chooses to survive on benefits. I did not choose to be disabled, yet I'm having to survive. It's not fair.
What Laura is experiencing is called food insecurity. It's something researchers like Flora Douglas have observed since the financial crash.
It's a phenomenon, it's not new, but the severity of it in the context of what was already happening pre the COVID pandemic, and when there was considerable concern and focus on food insecurity. Now we are seeing still ongoing anxiety and deep concern.
Inflation, energy costs and the rising cost of food. We've all been warned that life is about to get more expensive. And for farmers like Bruce, it's about coping with these costs and this chain reaction. India Grant, BBC News.
So I think we've all noticed the cost of milk, haven't we? I was having a look today, there were other things that have gone up. Meat, another quite obvious one, I would say, that I've really spotted. Fizzy drinks and alcohol too. Crisps, surprisingly, have gone up quite a lot.
They can do what they like to that.
And pasta and bread.
Yeah, Jack Monroe, the food blogger, actually was tweeting about this, saying there's a little more than 5%. I mean, some of these things, he was saying rice, flour, pasta, all these things, some of them up by more than 100% in the last year. Elsewhere, used cars up by 28% in the past
demand,
year.
Isn't it?
And there's more to come. We know about our power, our energy bills. They're going to go up after April. Mobile phone bills, broadband bills, expect all that to go up. Life is about to become very expensive. And it's now down to the Bank of England to see what they do about that, right? Whether or not they put up interest rates to try and cool off inflation. Makes our mortgage payments higher, but rewards savers.
Yeah, it's a tricky one, isn't it? £1.45 a litre for petrol last night for me as well.
Tricky. Electric car, I'm very smug until April.
Yes, when you have to pay more in your bill.
Yeah, exactly.